In this video, I'd like to chat just at a fairly high level about some basic troubleshooting we can do if we think it's a TCP related problem, especially if we think, for example, the TCP session isn't being set up and that may be causing the problem. Although in a computer network, it could be DNS or it could be a failed server, it could be a lot of reasons. So in this capture called 5.10.3 troubleshooting, let's go to statistics and we'll go to conversations and let's go to TCP. So there's 90 of them here that are TCP based, and let's take a look at the ones that are pretty big. So we can sort by these, and so if we sort by packets, let's go ahead and sort by packets. So that doesn't look good to me. You know, if we had one packet, for example, and we didn't get a response coming back, it looks like we had several. Let's take a peek at that. Let's go ahead and right click on that and do apply as filter, selected, and filter on stream ID. So we'll close that window, and here it is. We have one packet there and also an ICMP message from IPv6 telling us about a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and filter out ICMP here. So in the IP header here for IPv6, as far as the next header being ICMP, I'm going to drag that up and simply for our discussion here, say and not selected right there. All right, so now we're just looking at a single TCP message that had no follow-up. So let me line these columns up a little bit and let's take a look. So we have just one packet here, so we can just open this up a little bigger here in the details. So let's start off. There's our Ethernet header pointing to the next protocol of IPv6, fantastic. And then in the IPv6 header, it's pointing to the next header of 6, which is TCP. There's the source and destination, fantastic. And then here's the TCP header. So this is from source port 59750, which very likely is a client port because it's a high numbered port, and then going to the well-known port of 443. We have a sequence number of 0 and also acknowledgement number of 0. We'll take a closer look at those in the next set of videos, but for now it appears that this is the initial request because if we look at the flags, we have a single bit on, that's the synchronization flag, and there's no follow-up. There's no response coming back that's considered part of that flow, which also, let's chat about that for a moment. So regarding the stream or the flow here of 20, that's in Wireshark's mind in this capture regarding this stream, or what would have been a stream if the actual server responded back. And the way that Wireshark identifies a TCP stream is using a 5, you know what, I've heard people say tuple and tuple, I don't know. Anyway, the 5 tuples basically that make this a stream. And here's what they are. We have the IP information, source and destination, in this case IPv6, source and destination. We have the layer 4 ports involved. So we have the source and destination ports. And just to confirm what they are, the source and destination IP addresses are these two bad boys right there. The destination ports right here are 59790 and 443. And then the last piece is, what protocol are we using? Which in our case, we're using TCP. The same would hold true for the 5 tuple if we're using UDP. The IP addresses involved, the ports involved, source and destination, and the protocol. And that's what's constituting a stream in the eyes of Wireshark. So if we remove this display filter and also let the ICMP come through and press enter here, the ICMP is really telling us about what happened. So I'll go to edit and preferences and layout, and we'll do the traditional method right here and click on OK. So here in this ICMP message, this IPv6 ICMP message, if we take a look at the details, this is a ICMP unreachable, which in IPv6 is a type 1. If it was IPv4, that'd be a type 3. And it's saying no route to destination. So the device who's reporting this, which would be the router or whatever device is at 2001 DB867836761, it's reporting back and saying, you know what, I couldn't forward your packet because I didn't have a route. And then inside the ICMP packet, very much like IPv4 would, it's giving us details on the original packet that triggered this. So the original packet that triggered this was trying to come from source port 59790, which is very familiar because we saw that in the original packet, trying to get to 443. It had a synchronization flag set to on, and unfortunately, this router at this IP address didn't have a route to that destination, so it sent back a message saying, I didn't have a route. And that also would explain why this initial TCP SYN request fell on deaf ears, because the packet never made it to the final destination. Now, another component of troubleshooting would be taking a look, based on where this capture happened, at the hop counts involved, because both IPv4 and IPv6 both have hop counts. So here's showing a hop count of 64, And if we look at the ICMP message that came back from the server, it has a hop count of 64. So that also can be useful sometimes as we look at packets that get responded to, and we can tell based on the hop count in the responses going back and forth, how far away are we from the capture point. But in this case, because the IP addresses are both on the same subnet and they both show a hop count of 64, the gateway who sent this message and the client are both on the same exact subnet. So this packet never made it off the subnet. All right, let's go back and find another stream. So we'll do that by statistics and conversations. So let's sort by packets here. And we have a lot of packets here for this session right here. So we'll right click and we'll prepare as filter selected and filter on stream IDs. So the biggest difference between prepare and apply is that with prepare, you're given the opportunity to hit go and not have it just go automatically for you. So let me close this pane, and now it's sitting here waiting for us. We'll click on the arrow to go, and now we're looking at just that stream. Again, based on the 5 tuples, which involve the source and destination IP addresses, the source and destination ports, and then the protocol that's being used. In this case, it'd be TCP. So there's our 3-way handshake with a source port of 60,690 going to the well-known port of 443. If we look at the TCP header, we have the SYN flag set. So we'll open up the flag section. There's the SYN flag. The response coming back from the server has the SYN and acknowledgement bit set. And then the final acknowledgement is right here, and it has the acknowledgement bit set. So as far as troubleshooting, what we could do is we could look for resets. Now, a reset doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem. Sometimes it's just sent at the very end to say, hey, go away. A nice session might just do a fin to say, hey, I'm leaving, thanks for the chat. But a reset might be more urgent, so we could do a filter based on that. So we can look for a reset anywhere in the capture, not just for the stream. So we'll say selected. And currently it's TCP flags reset equals false. We'll turn that to on, press enter. And here is a bunch of resets. Now, if we're curious, like, are these bad or good, we could right click on one of them, go to conversation filter and specify TCP and look at that specific stream. So if we go to the very top, I'll use the top icon for that. There's our 3-way handshake, and we'll go to the very end. And near the end, we had some fin bit set, which is kind of a polite way of saying goodbye. So we had fins from both sides. There's a fin there as well. And then we also had a final reset. So that doesn't look like a problem. If we turn on the coloring rules, that reset would jump out at us even more. So looking for resets where there wasn't really a full session set up could be a telltale sign that something's wrong. For example, if somebody's doing a port scan on your network and there are tons of resets, that'd be an indication of malicious activity. Also, some other information that's included as part of the Wireshark capture would be the TCP analysis. So another thing we could check on that's provided by Wireshark is we could look for retransmissions. So there's a field called TCP analysis.retransmission. So if we go down, we can actually just grab that. It is right there. So let's arrow down, select it, and press enter. And this will show us anywhere where there's a retransmission. And again, this is courtesy of Wireshark. And if we scroll down, it's highlighting where that is. It's the sequence acknowledgement analysis. If we scroll down, there's the analysis flag, and there's the info. So if we cycle through these one packet at a time, anywhere where Wireshark has identified that it's a retransmission, it's going to go ahead and include that information. So we can use a flag to go ahead and search for that. And once again, we could go to statistics and conversations and go to TCP and just look for one packet. So we could sort based on packets and then grab one. So all these are going to be very similar. Just realize what happened. So on this one, I don't have a route to those destinations. So they were probably getting DNS responses for these IP addresses. And then when they wanted to send their packets to those destinations, the gateway said, I don't know how to get there, and just killed it. Hence, we have one packet. So if we looked at one of these again, I think they're all going to tell the same story. We'll right click, apply as filter, selected based on stream ID, and then we'll close that. And there it is. So there's the original packet. And there's our ICMP message saying, yep, I killed it. But it was kind enough to include the details on what triggered the ICMP message, which is super handy. Hey, thanks for watching, and subscribe right here to get the latest information from CBT Nuggets. And if you're new to or considering a career in the world of IT, head on over to CBT Nuggets and sign up for a free trial.